Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew Davis, me once again. Welcome back to the movie review, aka After I Saw. This time is going to be on Hoppers. Hoppers is Pixar's latest film, and it is about a young girl named Mabel who loves animals. She grew up with her grandmother by this pond that they like to go to, and when this pond gets taken over by a mayor that wants to build a highway over it because there are no animals left, she needs to try to get a beaver to take over that pond area, but in order to do that, she has to communicate with them. And the only way she's able to do that is if she gets into this robotic animal that her scientist friend calls Hoppers, where she transports herself into a beaver and communicates the animals and trying to convince them to, take back their home. So yeah, we've heard the, trying to save your homeland story many times before, but Pixar throughout the years have managed to make some ups and downs with their movies. They haven't been as financially successful as they have been, but their most successful movie of all time being a sequel to one of the all-time greatest Pixar films. But anything that Pixar puts their name on, I am immediately going to support. So yeah, when judging the trailer for this movie, I was all like, okay, this could be a fun film. I mean, it's clear that the movie wanted to go heavily towards the comedy section, because usually when it comes to Pixar, yes, they are funny a lot of the times, like with Monsters Inc. and Toy Story. A lot of them manage to, tickle our funny bones once in a while, but manage to hit our emotional core when it gets to some of the most empowering moments we have seen in any animated film. I wasn't sure what to expect when coming into this movie. Was it going to be always humor, or was there going to be an emotional core that I wasn't expecting? Because I feel like the trailer does a good job of doing that, just making it feel like, it could be something completely stupid. But in this film, it's actually a lot more than that. And I can definitely say this is one of Pixar's more stronger entries in this day and age. And I'm going to say this. I liked it a little bit more than Elio, surprisingly. And as much as I enjoyed Elio, I do feel like, there could have been things in that film to make it a bit better. This, while there are a few things that I would personally change, for the most part, it's a very well-made film. For one thing, it is one of the funniest Pixar films in quite some time. It's a very self-aware film, too, because the movie, in terms of its concept, yes, is familiar of films like Avatar, but then again, Avatar was criticized for not having too much originality as well, taken from other stories like Pocahontas. So, in this case in point, you can literally take this story and put it into anything. But I feel like the story that this film's going for, while again, it is pretty basic when it comes to saving their homeland, but I feel like Pixar manages to do it in a way that makes it feel unique. I like when it comes to, technology in this movie, instead of it being involved with AI, an actual person is taking over this thing with her own mind. So I do like that idea that it's taken away from the overall AI aspect and actually having an actual person take over the body that, so yeah. And all around, everybody in this movie, the performances are very strong. Everyone does a really good job, and because of how energetic this movie has with its humor, I really like the motive that it was going for. And that's not to say that it's always going to land. There are a few jokes that, I'm going to be honest, some of the best jokes were definitely in the trailer, but there were some moments here and there that I thought worked. Some of it's definitely aimed for kids, but a lot of it can aim towards an adult audience from time to time, and probably the funniest part of this movie is probably one of the darkest elements of this movie. While not super dark, I feel like, I'm not really going to spoil, but yeah, it just had me going, okay, it's getting a little dark now, but I mean, oh man, they actually had the balls to do this, so it definitely made me laugh from time to time. And I was hoping that, even though it was going to focus heavily on comedy, I was hoping that there would still be, a deep meaning behind it. And thankfully there is. As there is a big reason why exactly, Mabel wants to save the home. While it's not just for her own desire, she does generally care about the environment and animals. One of the funniest things about this movie is her rivalry that she has against the mayor, who I thought was going to be the main villain, but actually isn't. The main villain is, nothing special, but it focuses a lot on the main characters. And while eventually there will be other characters that come in, like this bear and this lizard, who don't really have a major part, they're just introduced and, have a lot to do later on during the movie. I would have liked if, more of the side characters appear to have us, laugh a little bit more or just, focus on other characters from time to time rather than just, stretching it into one story. But at the same time, I kind of admire the fact that they're focusing on, one portion of the movie without having to feel like, it needs to go too deep with the other characters because I don't expect anything deep from any of these characters. Because they're definitely where the comedy lies in. But what I really wasn't expecting was the emotional connection that Mabel has with this beaver king named George. I didn't really feel like, I would have that much of a connection, but I really liked how, despite the fact that he calls himself a king, he's not really that type of king that feels like he has to, follow orders. Because oftentimes, him and his mates like to just party. And I do like the fact that, he pretty much picks anyone to be the next heir because he doesn't have a wife, he doesn't have kids. He's pretty much, like, I don't know exactly how to put it because I really don't want to get into spoilers. You're just going to have to watch the movie for yourself. While oftentimes it does have titular tropes that we would see in other projects, but I do feel like, when it does get to them, I feel like Pixar doesn't in a way feeling like, it does feel necessary. I'm not going to say exactly these types of tropes because I pretty much feel like every single animated movie has the type of tropes that, if you know what I'm talking about, then, that's not to say that tropes can't always work. They can generally work if done right. And I think for the most part, this movie does a good job of doing that. And again, what really worked the most for me was the last act of the movie. And I was all like, yes, Pixar is still at its core when trying to tell an emotionally investing narrative. Because surprisingly, I was, emotionally invested from time to time. I can laugh at the movie and, feel something during the movie as well, like in most other Pixar films. The balance of humor and emotion is definitely here for this movie, and I don't feel like the trailer should fool you at all. It's definitely a fun ride when it does come to its humor, but it still knows when exactly it needs to be serious. And hey, it doesn't take itself seriously. Like I said, it's a very self-aware film of what the story is going for, but it manages to get serious when it needs to be serious, and it manages to get funny when it needs to be funny. And in the end, guys, Hoppers was a pleasant surprise. I'm glad this does not fall under the category of, something that Pixar made, one time watch, never do it again, because that's what I feel like, Pixar has been struggling with in terms of new projects, because they know that, most people come in for the sequels, because it's really hard to find an interesting idea. And while, yes, again, the story has been done before, but that's not to say that it can't be done in another way. And I do feel like Pixar did a really great job with this one. It's a funny film, it's a heartwarming film, and it manages to give exactly what I wanted to see from Pixar films. The Pixar films that I grew up with. Well, I can't say it's the next Inside Out or Coco. I can definitely say that it's still a very memorable film. It has characters that I liked, even though some of the side characters I feel like are just pushed to the side. It manages to be funny in the best possible way while still having that sense of feeling like, it still has that Pixar core in it when it needs to get there. So in the end, just take your family. You'll probably have a fun time. Kids will laugh at it. Adults will appreciate the moral that's going for it, because any Pixar movie, whether good, bad, or anything like that, still has its moments. And I feel like it has more than enough moments to make it memorable. If you told me this movie was definitely worth watching, I would say, damn right. I was really happy when I was able to experience this movie because I saw it in 3D and nobody was there. I was able to enjoy the movie without having to listen to the little kids talking about, oh, what's that? What's that? So that's mostly why I see 3D movies. But that does have me worried about how well this movie's going to do, because Elio bombed hard. Like, in terms of, new projects coming out, like, I really hope this movie does at least better than Elio, because it's obvious that Toy Story 5 is going to bring in the dough, but if we continue to see movies like this, Pixar will realize that, we need more, original films. We don't always want another movie that we've seen before. We don't want another sequel. I mean, Coco 2, Incredibles 3, I will definitely be anticipating those regardless, as well as Monsters Inc. 3 because that has already been greenlit. And I won't lie, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Toy Story 5. I mean, I know what they're going to do because we all saw the trailer. But yeah, speaking of Toy Story, I do have a Toy Story related video coming up, which is something that you probably wouldn't expect. You expect, me to talk about like a movie or something, but you'll see. Just give me a few days and I'll have it out. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. And I definitely recommend supporting this one because Pixar, we need to show Pixar that, and Disney in general, we want to see new projects. Sure, sequels, remakes, they might rank in the dough unless it's something like Snow White. But it's nice to see movies like this and actually feel like, effort was put into it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and maybe subscribe for more. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or maybe Blue Sky. Links in the description. And I'll see you guys later. Word out.